Hey there, this is Carl from the Aero bucket. As we gear up for another maple syrup season, I wanted to talk a little bit about incorporating a reverse osmosis system into your backyard sugaring operation. After making these buckets and kits for the last couple of years, I've learned a lot of things along the way, and I've made a lot of upgrades. And probably one of the most important things I realized was that typical household reverse osmosis components don't really lend themselves well to the maple syrup industry for two main reasons. One, we process sap at extremely low temperatures, and we also process sap at extremely high pressures. Typical water pressure is around 60 psi. We usually run around 120 to 150 psi. So what I found was that choosing quality components that can really withstand high pressures and low temperatures work much better and hold up a lot longer in our RO systems. So what I would like to do is walk you through the different components that make up our systems and how they're different from things you'll find in online retailers. The most important part of an RO system is obviously the RO membrane. This is what does the bulk of the work. So this is what we force sap through, and then pure water comes out the central port, and then concentrated sap leaks across the side. So when choosing a RO membrane, you really need one that can pass a lot of permeate at extremely low temperatures. Typically, if you have a 400 gallon per day membrane, that rating is for 80 degrees Fahrenheit. So at 32 degrees Fahrenheit, you're really only going to get about a quarter of that, or 25% of that overall rating. What that means is that the flow rate across that membrane is going to be much lower than what the manufacturer suggests, and it's going to cause that membrane to foul. So we have specialty membranes made with extremely high density sheet. If you look at the actual layering of our membranes and compare them to any of the ones that you'll find online, you'll see that we actually have more surface area inside of our membranes than typical 400 gallon per day membranes. What that means, or what that translates to, is that this is going to pass more water at lower temperatures, and it's going to keep the flux across this membrane relatively high, which is going to stop it from fouling, and you're going to get a lot of service life out of these membranes. The next component would be our RO housing. So we utilize standard 3012 membrane housings, and this is a typical one you'll find online. They're around maybe $20 to $25. But the big issue I found with these is they utilize NPT, National Pipe Threads, which require Teflon tape, and they only have a single O-ring in the top of the cap. In addition to that, they're made out of extremely thin plastic. You can actually flex them with your hand, and once these get over 80 psi, they start to seep out of the cap, and the Teflon tape actually starts to leak as well, because it's not threaded into metal, it's threaded into plastic. Our membrane housings are made out of 1/4 inch thick polypropylene. These are actually rated to 350 psi. We utilize a dual O-ring cap, so we have an O-ring on the housing, and we have an O-ring in the lid, and all of our fittings utilize threads to hold the fitting in place, but all the surfaces are actually machined for an O-ring. So we do not rely on threads to seal our fittings. The threads merely hold the fitting in the housing, and then the O-ring itself actually keeps that fitting from leaking, much like you see in the hydraulic industry. So these fittings, they never leak. They're extremely high quality. The next thing is hose. Not all hose is made equally. There's high density polyethylene, low density polyethylene. You obviously want to stay away from anything that contains PVC, polyvinyl chloride. That's not food grade. We utilize low density polyethylene and high density polyethylene, which are food grade plastics. They're NSF certified for food and beverage. So obviously they're certified. They're good for the maple industry as well. They have extremely good flexible properties, so they can be straightened and not coil up in a bucket. When selecting a hose, you really want one that you can sort of mold and make move your own way. It keeps a lot of the stress off the different fittings and keeps them from pulling sideways and leaking. In addition to that, our needle valves are all plastic, are all polypropylene as well. They utilize O-rings to seal, so they're quick disconnect O-rings, rated for 150 psi. The needle valve and the seat are both stainless steel. I noticed a lot of people are using brass shutoff or brass restriction devices, and you really need to be careful when you're using anything other than stainless steel or food grade plastic because of the new lead, the new lead requirements that are meeting the maple syrup industry. So try and stay away from brass. These are very high quality valves. They last a very, very long time. The next component is our Aero booster pumps. You really want to make sure that your booster pump matches the capacity of your reverse osmosis membrane. So what that means is that if you have a 400 gallon per day membrane, 25% of that value puts it at 100 gallon per day. So you need, for every membrane you have, you need a booster pump that is capable of a 100 gallon per day rating. Next is transformers that we use. All of our transformers are grounded. They have an internal heat sink, and they are made to run for 24 hours, as well as our booster pump. So they have a 24-hour duty cycle. Well, we go out of our way to ensure that the process of making a SAP RO system is not a mystery. It's my hope that you can learn from the mistakes I've made along the way. Pricing is extremely important to us. We would like this to be affordable for everybody, and that's why we try to keep industry-leading low prices on all the buckets, kits, and components that we sell. It's my sincere hope that if you were to price out high-quality components from online retailers, you could not build a system similar to ours at the cost we're selling it for. If you have any questions on different components, or if you would like help building your own system, and would like information on the different things that are out there, I'd be more than happy to talk to you. Shoot us an email. It's sales@therobucket.com. Go on our website, www.therobucket.com, to see what different components we have available as well, and also our kits and buckets that we have for sale. Any other questions, just let us know, and thank you for watching.